I think the issues here are so big that the Supreme Court may have to delay things till after Trump comes in. To give you a sense of the scale, if TikTok were banned, that would impact 170 million Americans. 17% of Americans get their news from TikTok, and they upload 5.5 billion videos a day. Many small businesses would go bust because they built a whole career and a business on TikTok.
The root cause of some of these rules is really around whether the Chinese are extracting the data from millions of Americans and using it to manipulate, whether it is democratic elected governments, that's been one of the chief concerns, but also just using the data for something else nefarious down the track. Is there an argument there about the Chinese state actors and what they're doing with the data?
Absolutely. I think, in the worst case scenario, ByteDance is a Chinese company. It has to follow Chinese laws. Chinese laws say that they have to cooperate with the Chinese intelligence services. And there are a number of things the Chinese intelligence services could do. Kids who are the main users of TikTok, when they grow up and become people in the military or maybe top-ranking politicians, they might have embarrassing content. They can be blackmailed. China could use the massive trove of data they have on US citizens for covert influence. They could use it for all kinds of things, spreading misinformation during elections, for example.
But let me put it another way. He originally didn't like TikTok, but now he's best buddies with Meta. No, he's not best buddies with Meta's Zuckerberg, but there's a rapprochement, a thawing of the ice there as well.
Yeah.
When he didn't like Zuckerberg, then obviously he could use TikTok as a stick to bash Zuckerberg with. Now him and Zuckerberg have got this rapprochement as well. Does he need TikTok anymore?
Absolutely. I mean, in many ways, President-elect Trump has a conflict of interest in this decision because he has 14.7 TikTok followers. He's already convinced Mark Zuckerberg to get rid of his content moderation policies on the grounds that they were censoring what he's saying. And so any US president wants the media to follow him. Trump has a problem with traditional media, and he recently had a problem with the tech bros who tended to be liberal, progressive, and against what he stood for. Now he's got an opportunity to, as he said to the Supreme Court, give me a chance to negotiate a political solution. And that political solution could be to say to TikTok, I'll let you operate in the US if you go easy on me.
But the politics is so important, isn't it? And the relationships are so important as well, as you've pointed out to as well. Most of the tech bros, from what I can see historically, were progressive, were liberal with a small L, possibly Democrat-leaning with a big D. Now they all suddenly seem to be Bismarckian, realpolitik libertarians. That's not a misreading of the situation, is it? They've all basically decided to rip up their original rule book from their founding to now and actually suddenly hightail it down to Mar-a-Lago and completely transform themselves.
Social media is a business in high risk of regulation, and when presidents change, they have to cozy up to the next president because that's good for business. The question for Facebook, and we'll look at this as the results come out and the forward estimates come out. The question for Meta is, will the lack of content moderation mean they lose business from the big brands?
Yes is the answer, isn't it?
Possibly. I mean, it's a second biggest advertising platform in the US.
If I'm a big brand, let's say, I don't know, whoever, one of the massive consumer products companies, I'm not going to be wanting next some of this stuff if it's only community notes attached to it as well. Community notes don't stop a lot of terrible things getting out there for a limited period of time at best, let alone a long period of time.
Yeah. I think that's a question for big brands, but I think many of them will look the other way. And this has happened before when there's content, some years ago was associated with toxic content online. So it's a big question. How can a big brand ignore such a massive audience?
I wonder. I mean, I sat through a lot of these Cannes Lions events where brands were talking about being purpose-led and, wanted to hit various different marks on diversity, inclusion, and be seen to be doing the right thing in the community. But, I mean, there have been a series of announcements since Trump was elected where effectively big brands are rowing back on some of those DEI programs. McDonald's is one example, for instance. Yeah. Do brands care as much around how they're perceived in social media if they feel like there's a wave, an anti-woke wave that is coming thanks to Trump?
Well, I think this is an opportunity to solve that problem. So I think Amazon, for example, is the third biggest advertiser on TikTok, and they've been rumored, possibly as a contender to make a bid. Microsoft could also make a bid. Walmart, big brand, together with Oracle, rumored to make a bid a few years ago, could come back. So I think this is
well to make a bid, but there's no seller. ByteDance doesn't
there's
want
no
to
seller
sell.
at the
China,
moment. But
the Chinese don't want the company to sell TikTok, so there's no seller.
Well, the law says they've either got to sell or shut down, and that's what we're going to see. But the critical thing is the timing of this law, because on Sunday the 19th, the law comes into force. TikTok could be shut down, and the very next day a new president is inaugurated who doesn't necessarily want that decision.